Who's next?
You have a statement called Mark Turner.
Do you solemnly swear affirm that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
You gotta end up in that green chair right there. Walk your step. You're gonna talk into the microphone. Just
Go ahead, Mr. Garcia.
Thank you, Your Honor. May it please the court, counsel. Mr. Turner, good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Mr. Turner, I'm going to ask that you pull that microphone closer to you, or if you would, please speak into it so that everyone can hear you. Can you state your name, please,
Mark Douglas Turner.
and your profession?
I'm retired.
And prior to retiring, how were you employed?
I was in the aviation industry after retiring from the military after 26 years.
Okay. Let's talk about your military experience. Were you in the United States Air Force?
I was
And if you would, please, would you tell the judge what rank you had upon separation?
a lieutenant colonel.
And would you share with us what you did for the United States Air Force?
I had a number of jobs over time, but I started out as an enlisted man, and then after about 7 years I was commissioned, went to flight school, and I was flying tankers and reconnaissance aircraft. And then I spent the latter part of my career as an air attaché, and that was in Hong Kong for 7 years.
Mr. Turner, were you a clandestine case officer?
Yes, sir.
And would you explain to the court exactly what that is?
It's a clandestine officer who works to run agents in other countries, communist countries.
Were you trained in surveillance and counter-surveillance?
I was,
Did you have specialized training in that?
yes,
Did you work for various federal agencies?
yes, sir.
As part of your training involving surveillance and counter-surveillance, were you trained to observe things?
Yes, sir.
Can you explain that to the court?
Well, our own well-being was predicated on us knowing where we were at and what our surroundings were. So we spent much of our time knowing where we were going to go, who we should expect to see once we got there, and what might or might be out of place.
Okay. As a clandestine case officer, your surroundings were very important to you.
Yes, sir.
And part of your training was to be aware of your surroundings at all times.
Yes, sir.
Right? Is that fair?
It is.
You needed to be aware because your life
Yes,
depended
sir.
on it, right?
That's correct.
After you separated from the United States Air Force, did you continue with that practice of always being aware of your surroundings?
Yes, sir. I mean, it's at that point, it's become ingrained in your psyche as to how you carry yourself, and being aware of your surroundings, choosing where you sit and what where the exits are, and so forth.
Is it second nature to you?
It is.
No matter where you are?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Turner, are you married, sir?
I am.
And to whom?
Joanna Turner.
Okay. And how long?
41 years, just short of 41 years.
Mr. Turner, if I would please, I'd like to draw your attention to January 13th of 2014. Do you recall that date?
Yes, sir.
Did you attend the Cobb Theater that day?
Yes, my wife and I.
And what time did you arrive at the Cobb Theater?
It must have been around 1:30 or so.
Okay. Could it have been prior to 1:30?
Objection, Your Honor. He's leading into an answer. He said what he said the time.
Good.
Judge, and the question was, could it have been prior to 1:30? His answer is going to be either yes, it could have been, or no. But how is that leading?
Because he's suggesting that it should be prior to 1:30.
Could it
Simple
be?
as that.
Overruled.
Yes, sir.
So it could have been prior to 1:30. What movie were you going to see?
Lone survivor?
Prior to going into the movie theater, did you purchase any items at the concession stand?
I don't believe so.
When you entered the movie theater, will you tell us, well, first of all, did you pick out a place where you were going to sit?
As we walked into the theater, the way it's laid out, there's a little landing platform at the bottom as you turn the corner with a wall on your left. We usually pick somewhere high and on the aisle. I choose to sit at the aisle. I've got back and leg problems, and it's just more comfortable for me there.
Did you choose the back row prior to going up into the bistro?
Well, it was available, and so yes. I mean, as soon as we turned the corner, we saw what was available. That was where we chose to sit.
Okay. And when you entered the movie theater to take your seats, were the previews playing?
Yes, I think they had just begun.
What were the lighting conditions then?
It was dark, but not as dark as when the movie is playing.
Could you see?
I could see, yes.
Could you see people walking to their seats?
I could. I don't believe there was anyone walking at the time, but had they been, it wouldn't have been difficult to see them.
Could you see 5 seats away from you?
Yes, sir.
Could you see 10 seats away from you?
Yes, sir.
Could you hear people talking?
You could.
Was Mr. and Mrs. Olson already in the theater upon you arriving there?
Yes, sir.
And Mr. and Mrs. Reeves, were they there as well?
I believe they were, although Captain Reeves was not at his seat at that time.
You don't know where he was, right?
I don't. I just,
Okay.
what I recall is that after we sat, subsequently, he came back from wherever he was at and passed by us.
Did he say anything to you as he passed by?
He did. He excused himself.
Okay. How many seats away from Mr. Reeves were you?
Probably 8.
Was your wife closer to Mr. Reeves than you were?
Yes, I was on the aisle. She was next to me, so inward.
Did you watch Mr. Reeves as he was returning back to the movie theater?
I did. Just at that point, really for no reason other than it was movement in the theater.
Do you always watch movement in a theater?
I think I do, yeah.
Do you always watch movement, period, wherever you are?
Yeah, until I get a comfort level that, there's not anything awry.
Mr. Turner, are you always on a heightened alert?
Yes, sir.
Because of your background and training, right?
Yes, sir.
Did you follow Mr. Reeves back to his seat?
Yes, I did, with visually, yes.
Was there anything unusual about his demeanor?
Not that I noted at that point.
Did you observe a dialogue between Mr. Olson and Mr. Reeves?
I can say I observed part of a dialogue. I really couldn't hear what Mr. Reeves was saying.
Could you hear what Mr. Olson was saying?
Yes, sir.
What did you hear Mr. Olson say?
He said it, something to the effect that I'm texting my daughter, do you mind?
Okay. Did Mr. Reeves respond?
He did, but I couldn't tell you what he said. I just could say that whatever it was, it caused a reaction by Mr. Olson.
What was the reaction?
At that point, Mr. Olson reached over and grabbed Captain Reeves' popcorn and kind of flicked it back at him.
Did you actually see that?
I did.
And after the flick of the popcorn, what happens?
Almost instantaneously, Captain Reeves, I didn't see him draw his weapon, but I saw the weapon fire and saw the muzzle flash. And then as he shot Mr. Olson, he took the gun back and put it in his lap.
And you actually saw that?
Yes.
Mr. Reeves' movements with the pistol, was it one fluid motion?
That's what really caught my attention, because it was so fluid and so fast that the conclusion that I drew was that that's not an ordinary citizen with a concealed carry permit. That was a trained individual that that had drawn so smoothly and fired.
Based on your own personal training and experience, you could tell.
Yes, sir.
Did there come a time that you stood up?
Yes.
When was that?
At about just before Mr. Olson made his comment about the texting.
Okay. Could you see Mr. Olson?
I could.
And prior to that comment, what was Mr. Olson doing?
When I saw, from the very beginning, when I saw Mr. Olson, he was standing.
He have anything in his hands?
He had his cell phone in his hand,
Do you know which hand?
his left hand, sir.
Do you know what he was doing with his right hand?
I don't know exactly, but it appeared to me that he was scrolling through or perhaps checking an email or a text, perhaps.
What position was Mr. Olson in when he reached for the bag of popcorn?
Initially, when I took note of Mr. Olson standing, he was at an oblique angle to me. Kind of his shoulder, his right shoulder was turned perhaps 60 degrees towards my direction. And just before he grabbed the popcorn, he squared himself with the seat and bent, what appeared to me, bent just enough for his arms to reach the popcorn and grabbed it.
I would ask you to step down and demonstrate it for us, Mr. Turner, but unfortunately the seats that we have here all have wheels on them, so I don't want it to slide across, but Was it kind of, and hopefully I won't kill myself, but was he kind of with one knee in the seat?
Objection leading.
I don't know how that's leading.
Overall.
I
Let the record
couldn't,
reflect Mr. Garcia is placing his knee on the chair in a demonstration to this particular witness.
And the question was he kind of leaning with his knee on the seat?
On the seat of the chair. That was my question.
And that's my objection, it's a leading question.
Overall.
I couldn't see his knee. If it was on the chair, I couldn't see it.
Okay.
So I just couldn't say for sure.
But you indicated he was leaning forward to
Yes.
grab the popcorn.
Yes,
Did you ever see Mr. Olson strike Mr. Reeves?
no, sir.
Did you ever see Mr. Olson hit him with a fist?
No, sir.
Did you ever see Mr. Olson slap him?
No, sir.
Did you ever see Mr. Olson throw a cell phone at Mr. Reeves?
No, sir.
As the popcorn flew, did you hear Mr. Reeves make a statement?
I did. It was almost simultaneously with the gunshot, quite frankly, and that was throw popcorn in my face. And it was kind of a, I don't know if it's grammatically correct, but it was like a declaratory question.
Mr. Turner, you have an independent recollection of that?
Yes, sir.
Did Mr. Reeves ever get out of his chair or leave his chair?
No, sir.
Did he sit in the chair the entire time?
He did. After the gunshot, he went back into his seat, sat back, his back against the chair, and then it was kind of like the air went out of him, and he put his head in his hands as if to say, "What have I done?"
Did Mr. Olson make any statements after he was shot?
Yes, sir. He, when he was shot, he tried to stand up. He was already from throwing the popcorn, he was already kind of regaining his upright composure or position. And then when he was shot, he said, "I don't believe this." And he turned towards the aisle and attempted to take a step, and then essentially he might have taken another half step and he collapsed.
Did you at any time hear Mr. Olson threaten Mr. Reeves in any manner?
No, sir.
After Mr. Olson was shot, what did you do?
As soon as the shot rang out, I grabbed my wife and put her behind me. So she was, at this point, in the aisle, but behind me. And my concern was that that wouldn't be the end of the shooting. And I didn't want her to run down towards the exit and run into a line of fire. So I brought her behind me, and I kept my eyes on Captain Reeves until the gun was taken control of.
Did you see the off-duty deputy, Corporal Hamilton at the time, walk towards Mr. Reeves?
Yes, sir. I didn't know who he was, but
Right. I mean,
saw
did you
that.
later learn that he was an
Yes.
off-duty sheriff? Did you see Corporal Hamilton reach down to Mr. Reeves' right leg, his knee area, and remove the pistol?
Yes, sir. And I saw him eject the clip from the weapon.
Okay. Did you see him slide to slide back?
I did not, and that concerned me, but I didn't.
Were you still on a heightened alert even though the gun had been taken away from Mr. Reeves?
At that point, I turned my attention really to Mr. Olson and to Mrs. Olson. At that point, she had made her way out to the aisle, and her hand was bleeding, and so my attention really kind of changed from what I considered a threat to kind of a situation where I wanted to see if there was any help that I could provide.
Mrs. Olson obviously needed medical attention.
She did. My wife, we didn't have anything other than some napkins to give to her to put around her finger. Subsequently, she was going up and down the steps, and
When you say she, just so the record is perfectly clear, who are you?
Mrs.
referring to?
Olson.
Okay.
And I approached her and asked her if there was anyone that she wanted to call to look after her child. And she told me that, yes, she had someone she could call. And she asked me to get her cell phone. She gave me her purse, and I took her cell phone out of her purse, and she told me the name of the person to call. So I called the lady and asked her if she could pick up her daughter. And I also suggested that if it was possible, if she had someone who could watch the daughter, perhaps she might come down and offer some consolence to Mrs. Olson.
Okay. Do you see Mr. Reeves in the courtroom today, sir?
Yes.
And if you would, please, can you point him out and describe what he's wearing?
Captain Reeves actually behind you. I can't see him now, but
Let me get out of your way.
they're sitting next to Mr. Escobar.
I'm going to ask the record to reflect that Mr. Turner has in fact identified the defendant's case.
And so, like,
Did you stay in the movie theater then?
Yes.
Did you see law enforcement come in?
Yes.
Were you directed to any particular part of the movie theater?
No, sir. If it's helpful, I tell you kind of procedurally what happened.
You don't mind?
We were waiting on both paramedics and the police to arrive. And so my wife had actually opened up the exit door down at the bottom. And then subsequently I went down and went outside to see if I could hear or see the paramedics arrive. That's who I was most concerned with, as opposed to the police arriving at that point. But subsequently I came back inside. The police and the paramedics arrived, and I had walked back outside because I was at that point looking for my wife, and I stood by the exit door as the paramedics had gone in. I waited outside just to be out of the way, and then they came out with the stretcher, and the police came out with Captain Reeves.
Did you at any time talk to any of the other patrons about what you had seen?
The only discussion I had was I posed the question, and I don't know who it was to, but whether or not anyone had been given any forms to write statements on.
Okay.
I wasn't sure They were just going to give us yellow notepads and ask us to write what we saw, if there was a particular form that someone was going to bring or what have you.
Were you given a voluntary statement form?
Yes.
And did you in fact fill that form out?
Yes, sir.
And did you fill it out on January 13th of 2014?
Yes, sir.
May I have a moment, Judge, please?
You may.
Mr. Turner, did you ever see Miss Olson attempting to hold Mr. Olson back?
No, sir.
I have no further questions, Judge. I'll pass the witness.
Excuse me, Your Honor, I had to read that, write that last statement down.
Go ahead.
Good afternoon, Mr. Turner.
Good afternoon, sir.
Mr. Turner, I'm going to direct your attention, since you've gotten some of your background out for us already concerning your skills. And I'd like to direct your attention to when you and your wife go into the theater and sit down. The previews were playing. I think you testified initially. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And you would agree when the previews are playing in a theater, they're loud.
Yeah.
You got to speak up, because
Yes.
the only way that she can take something down is if voiced, because she's not looking over to you most of the time. That's the way that they get your attention, right?
Yes, sir.
And I think you already indicated that you thought that the theater was dark, not completely black, but certainly dark.
Yes, sir. It's darker.
And you sat on that end seat because of wanting to get up and maybe sometimes stretch your back and sometimes go to the restroom and what have you, correct?
Yes, sir.
You do have some disabilities.
Yes, sir.
And your wife was seated one end from you, is that correct?
That's correct.
And I think you've already testified on direct the distance that you believe you were from Mr. Reeves.
Yes, sir.
So I want to take you there. You sit down, and the first thing that you're doing is you're looking around. It's the first thing you're doing, correct?
Yes, sir.
And I think on direct examination you indicated that when you got there and you sat down and you started looking around, Mr. Reeves was not in his chair.
That's correct.
And so I'm picturing you sitting in that chair, your wife to your left, the previews are going, noise is loud, and you're looking around to your left,
Yes, sir.
all around. And when you look to your left, you notice a big guy standing up, and he's got his cell phone in his hand, and he's kind of looking down on it.
Yes, sir.
And the previews were playing, correct?
Yes, sir.
And he's the only one standing up, according to you, right?
Yes, sir.
And so that kind of struck you odd. Everybody's seated, previews are playing, I'm looking to my left, and I see this large man standing up, right?
Yeah, but I'm not sure that I said that it struck me as odd. I just took note of it.
Something to note.
Yes.
And especially someone like yourself with the skills that you have. Correct?
Yes, sir.
Certainly caught your attention. Correct?
Yes, sir.
And Mr. Reeves wasn't there yet, so you didn't believe that anybody was behind this very tall gentleman standing there with a phone in his hand.
I'm not sure. Is that a question?
Yeah, you didn't see anybody behind it.
No, I did not.
And he was in the row below you, correct?
That's correct.
Approximately the same number of seats as Mr. Reeves would have been in your row.
Yes, sir.
This person wasn't facing the theater screen, correct?
That's correct.
He was kind of facing in your direction.
Yes, sir.
You couldn't see the light on his phone, but you could tell he had a phone in his hand.
That's correct.
And the phone appeared to be a dark-colored phone of some sort.
Yes, sir.
And you believe, as you were scanning and seeing that only person standing up, you believe that there was about 70 to 75 people seated in the theater that day.
That's correct.
And that was through your observations.
Yes, sir.
Certainly you felt at that point in time, I wouldn't be standing up in the middle of the theater like that because it's kind of rude. That's what you
No,
thought.
I would not have been standing up with my cell phone texting at that point.
And so when you saw that, you thought, that's kind of rude.
No, sir. I don't think I said that.
No, I didn't say you thought it in your mind.
No, I didn't
You
think
didn't?
that. No, sir.
You're just saying that today, hey, that would be pretty rude.
You're saying that.
Do you believe that?
You know, what I'm thinking is, it's not something I would do, but the movie hadn't started yet.
Just the previews.
Yeah, just the previews, and there were people talking. There were plenty of distractions going on. So at that point, I didn't give much credence to it being a problem or not.
And this gentleman that was standing up, as you're looking over to him, he's not having any conversations. He's just there.
Right.
You knew that gentleman to be Chad Olson.
I did not
Later
at the time. Yes, subsequently.
That's who we're talking about, Chad Olson,
Yes,
right?
sir. Yes, sir.
And then you see Mr. Reeves walking up the stairs, correct?
Yes, sir.
And if we're looking at the theater so that the court can have a real clear indication of this, let's assume that you're seated in your seat in the theater. That's the movie screen,
Yes, sir.
right?
That's correct.
And so Mr. Reeves would be coming up from the walkway here, right?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Olson is standing up over there with his phone, right?
Yes.
In the middle of the theater, and you're saying, through your powers of observation, that you saw Mr. Reeves then walking up the stairs, correct?
I saw Mr. Reeves as he approached my aisle.
Did you see him, are there stairs there where he was
Yes.
walking? Okay.
Yes.
Did you see him walking up the stairs?
I took note of him as he approached my seat.
Because like you had noticed Mr. Olson standing up, you noticed people, movement, right?
Yes,
That's important to you, correct?
that's correct.
And Mr. Reeves comes to your row, correct?
That's correct.
And you believe at the time, when you first saw Mr. Reeves, there in that walkway coming up the stairs, you believe that he was wearing one of those London fog or waist-high jackets that come up to the waist, and it was light colored and tan, correct?
That was in my statement, yes.
You hadn't seen this gentleman before?
I had not.
And so this gentleman now, Mr. Reeves then, is this gentleman right here.
Yes, sir.
That's what we're talking about now, right?
Yes, sir.
The one in the London fog.
Yes. I would
He
just,
comes and approaches you
yes,
and very politely says, "Sir, excuse me, I need to get by."
that's true.
And he moves sideways. You don't know whether it was to your front or to your back, but he moves sideways in an effort to get by you.
Yes, sir.
And you saw him walk normally to his seat, scooting down carefully
Yes,
until he got to his seat, grabbed a bag of popcorn from his wife, and sat down. You saw that.
I did.
It is at this moment, somewhere around this moment, after Mr. Reeves had gotten close to his seat, that you first hear a voice. Correct?
Yes.
A voice. One voice.
Mr. Olson's voice.
And the previews are on,
Yes.
and the previews are loud.
Yes.
And the theater still is at the same lighting conditions, dark. Correct?
That's correct.
And this gentleman is still standing up, talking about Mr. Olson,
Yes.
and he's looking down at his phone, is what you're telling the court today.
Yes.
And you were making these observations because that's what you had done up until that point in time. You were kind of scanning the room,
That's correct.
which is what you've done in your profession for virtually all your life.
That's correct.
And you see Mr. Olson turn towards Mr. Reeves.
I saw Mr. Olson turn towards Mr. Reeves,
And
not
sit-
in the manner that you just described.
Okay, well, just, can you tell me how?
Sure, he
Tell me.
just made his focal point from an oblique angle to square off.
So if I'm at a 60-degree angle, okay,
Yes, sir.
he did this.
He turned towards Mr. Reed and squared off to the chair.
And he said, "I'm texting my fucking daughter."
No.
Oh, you didn't hear the word, pardon me, Your Honor. The F word, you didn't hear that.
I heard what he said. He didn't
Did you
say
hear the
that.
F word?
Judge, I'm going to object. He's not allowing him to answer the question.
Mr. Turner, did you
He's
hear
cutting
the
the
F
law.
word? It's a simple yes or no question.
No, it wasn't said.
Wasn't said. The F
Wasn't
word.
said.
In fact, your belief is that that entire period of time that you were seated there, you never heard the F word.
I did not.
Your statement is that Mr. Olson, in a loud voice, said, "I'm checking on my daughter." Is that true?
That's true. That's what I wrote down.
That's what you remember. And your wife is seated right next to you, so your wife would kind of be a little closer to what's taking place, right? Like one seat closer.
Sure.
Now, you would agree that your perception at that point was that Mr. Olson was angered.
No, sir. I would say he was frustrated, perturbed perhaps, but not angered.
You ever use the word, pardon again? Pissed?
Yeah.
So you don't equate the word pissed with anger.
Not really.
Okay. You certainly didn't hear at that moment Mr. Reeves say anything.
I did not.
But you certainly heard what Mr. Olson was saying.
I did.
Over the noise of the previews.
Objection, Judge. Ask him to answer.
Sustained.
You would agree that people can get angered and pissed at someone without anyone directing any comment, caustic or otherwise, to them, correct?
Sure.
Now, when Mr. Olson reacted that way, that was enough for you to think in your mind, I better get up out of this seat right now. Right? That's when you decided, I better get up out of this seat right now.
I got up because I wanted a better view of what was going on.
Well, because of that statement. At that moment when he made that statement, you said, up I go.
That was the point to which I actually moved from a conclusion that maybe they knew each other and they were talking back and forth across the seat to a point where I realized, no, this isn't two people who know each other.
Now, if you stood at that time, that's your testimony that you stood up, right?
That's correct.
I would imagine that your testimony would also then be, then you would have stayed standing all throughout the rest of the events, including the shooting and even after the shooting. Right there. Right?
Right.
And so, were you aware that the Cobb Theater had a camera 11 on the right side of the wall and a camera 12 on the left side of the wall that captured at various segments your very row?
No, I wasn't until interviewed by Mr. Garcia. That was
Days later?
months.
Months later.
Right.
Now, at this point in time, you're standing, is what your testimony is, right?
That's correct.
And you realize that after Mr. Olson is making that statement, he is moving closer to Mr. Reeves, correct?
Yes.
So now, not only is his voice elevated he is now moving closer to Mr. Reeves.
He leaned towards Mr. Reeves, perhaps at a 10 to 15 degree angle.
And you don't know whether his seat bottom, Mr. Olson's seat bottom, was down or up.
I don't.
You're thinking Reeves is going to get punched.
No, I didn't know what was going to happen next, and that I think I wrote, perhaps in my statement, I don't recall exactly, that could have been a possibility. And so I
Okay,
was
so-
paying attention to what was going on.
So in your mind, for the first time, you're thinking Mr. Reeves could get punched.
Yeah, I think that did cross my mind.
You're seeing Mr. Reeves seated there. You don't hear a peep from him. Right?
Right.
In fact, what you're seeing is Mr. Reeves kind of doing something like this. Correct?
That's correct.
And now you're seeing Mr. Olson's hands reaching, correct?
That's correct.
Over the back of his seat,
That's correct.
in the direction of Mr. Reeves.
Yes, sir.
And you would agree there is not much distance between the back of Mr. Olson's chair and Mr. Reeves, who is seated
Judge,
less than 2 feet.
I think Mr. Turner does not have any difficulty hearing, and Mr. Escobar has been screaming at
You're
him
right.
for the last 5 or 10 minutes. I mean, he's like 10 feet away from me.
I will tone it down. Is that correct, Mr. Turner?
That's correct.
It's a very, very short distance.
I would say about an arm's length.
You knew that wasn't good.
At that point, I didn't draw any conclusions because things happened so fast.
I'm not asking you for conclusions. You knew
The judge
that...
objected, calls for speculation on his part.
I don't think it's speculation at all. I'm asking him whether he knew at that point in time that whatever was going to happen was not going to be good.
It calls for speculation because whatever happened was a bag of popcorn that was thrown.
All right, just rephrase, I'll rephrase.
You now are seeing Mr. Olson coming into Mr. Reeves' space, right?
Yes, sir.
Did you think that was good?
Objection, Judge, again, it calls for
Judge,
speculation
I
on the
would
part of this
withdraw.
witness.
I will withdraw that question. I think it's self-evident.
Judge, I'm going to object to that gratuitous comment. Self-evident to whom?
To just about everyone.
All right, enough, both of you. Let's stay on track here.
It was still dark at that time in the theater, was it not?
Yes, sir.
And the previews were playing and they were loud.
Yes, sir.
Judge, objection, he's recapping the last 30 minutes.
No,
It's been asked
Judge,
and answered.
Judge, this is at,
Every bit of that has been asked and answered at least twice now.
but not at this moment. Not when Mr. Olson is going over. It's a very critical moment for us.
All right, but you asked him, he responded, you asked another question, he responded, that's asked and answered, whether you're recapping or not, and it has been asked and answered more than once. So please, let's refrain from the recapping. Just get to your next question and we'll move along.
Now, at some point in this process, do you see or do you hear first a muzzle flash, the gun going off?
I hear the gun go off and I see the muzzle flash at, for all intents and purposes, the same time.
Okay. And so you hear, what you're telling this court under oath today, is that you hear the gun go off. You see the muzzle flash. And at the same time, you hear Mr. Reeves. Were you watching his lips
No,
at that
sir.
point in time?
No, sir.
You were not watching his lips.
No, sir.
And you were still about 8 or 9 rows from, 8 or 9 seats from Mr. Reeves, correct?
Yes, sir.
But you're saying you hear muzzle, you hear the sound of the gun, shot,
Objection.
you see the muzzle flash.
Answer these questions.
I'm finishing it.
I'm sure.
And at the same time, you're hearing simultaneous, I believe your direct examination was, throw popcorn in my face. That's what you're telling this court today.
That's what I'm telling the court.
Now, immediately after this shot, there's quite a bit of commotion. Would you agree with that?
Yes, sir.
Quite a bit of emotion.
Well, to be more accurate, immediate following the shot, everything went quiet, if you will, as far as it relates to the people in the theater. Everybody, it was as if time was frozen. Everybody stopped.
But you're focusing now on Mr. Olson because you're seeing him.
No, sir, I never took my eyes off of Captain Reeves.
Oh, okay. So you don't see Mr. Olson then collapse?
I do see him collapse, but I see him out of the, at that point, they're 1.5 feet, 3 feet apart.
Well, is that where Mr. Olson collapses? 2 or 3 feet apart from Mr. Reeves?
He collapsed perhaps 1 seat outward
So 1 seat
toward the aisle.
towards your area,
That's correct.
towards your aisle,
That's correct.
where Mr. Reeves had originally come up.
That's right.
1 seat, okay. Your wife is still there?
Yes.
Is she nervous about what happened?
Sure.
You're probably, even though I know you've been in the military, it's somewhat troubling, right? For something like this to happen in front of you?
No, sir.
It was not troubling to you?
Not really. To be completely honest, it was very familiar.
Okay. Well, at least you recognize that your wife was having
Of course.
a tough moment,
Yes,
correct?
that's correct.
Anxiety,
Sure,
fear, all those things.
that's correct.
And I would imagine you're trying to do the best you can to keep her as calm as possible.
Yes, sir.
Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And I'm not going to take you through the whole scenario, but at some point in time, you are directed with your wife to an area where there's a group of individuals congregating, correct?
We weren't really directed anywhere in particular.
Y'all just went there?
There was a police officer in the far corner, and I think folks mostly just migrated towards that location.
And people were still emotional there. People that were in
Yes, of
tears,
course.
including your wife.
Yes, of course.
And after you all filled out your form, your wife was still emotional.
To a lesser degree. I mean, she had started to wind down.
And she had a conversation with you at that point in time concerning what she had seen.
I don't recall that she did.
Page 85, lines 21. Oh, you have this depot, man?
The deposition?
Yeah.
Yeah. Page 85?
Yeah. Remember me taking a depot of you,
Sorry, what line was it, Mr. Erskine?
oh, I'm sorry, 21 through 25.
21, yes.
Got it? Mr. Turner, you remember me taking your depot on March the 16th of 2015?
Yes, sir.
You remember being placed under oath to tell the truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, sir.
And you remember that March the 16th of 2015 certainly is a couple of years before today's date, correct?
That's correct.
And so, back on March the 16th of 2015, your recollection of the events would have been much better.
Yes.
Any objection?
Well, I would object to the question that was asked, that we can approach.
Yes? Oh, let me just read it without talking first.
Starts on line 21. My thing there, so we're talking that he was downstairs, his wife has just finished.
Hold on. We can't have all these discussions at the bench.
Because you are, you put home,
Oh, I think if
We have to talk on the record. Well, yeah.
what she was containing as recording. No?
All right, so your objection, Mr. Garcia?
Judge, my objection is as to the form of the question. He says, did your wife tell you, and then he lists all these objects in there. And he doesn't go one by one, was it this, was it this, was it this? So if she said one or two of them, the answer is going to be yes, but the other one, it's all lumped together.
All right. If you're going to ask that same question, you need to
Yeah.
make it not a compound question.
I will. You remember that, Depo?
Yes, sir.
You remember me asking you the following question and you giving the following answer. Did your wife tell you that she had seen either some dark object, either a thermos, a cup, or a phone being thrown in the direction of Mr. Reeves by Mr. Olson? Your answer was yes. Did she tell you that?
Judge, I'm going to object.
If it's there,
We just
then-
said it was a compound question. I thought he was going to ask
Judge,
it.
All right. He asked, did you say that, just put it into context and
the next
let him answer.
the next sentence will be, Judge, I can read on to put it into context for you. Question, okay, and when did your wife first tell you that she had seen something she believed was a dark object being thrown at Mr. Reeves? Your answer, after we submitted our statements that day. Correct?
Okay, yes, if that's what I told you, that's what's correct. That's accurate.
Judge, after the statements were submitted, it's not relevant.
It sure is. He's being interviewed by detectives and everybody else and taking depositions and everything else. What do you mean it's not relevant?
After we submitted our statements.
It's very relevant.
All right, I get it. Is there an objection?
Yes, Judge, it's not relevant.
Good.
Go on.
In fact, Mr. Turner, you and your wife both discussed what you all had seen amongst each other that day, correct?
I'm going to object. He's going to have to give a time frame as to that day. Was it prior to being interviewed by law enforcement? Was it after they were interviewed by law enforcement?
Judge.
Was it when they got back home? His questions are very misleading.
Be more specific.
Judge, we're after the statement. We're after the statement. That's where we're at. That's at the point in time that we're at. He knows that.
After the statement.
After the written
Judge.
statement. After the written statement.
Stop, one at a time. I'm saying I will sustain in part as far as being more specific to the time.
Okay. After you wrote your written form, correct? So we're talking. That's what we're talking about. After
Yeah.
you wrote your voluntary form.
To be honest, I don't recall when we may have talked about that. I don't remember if it was after the statement was submitted or if it was when we got home. I just don't recall.
Or before.
No,
Just answer the question.
I don't.
Objection.
Well, he can finish answering it.
Go ahead.
I'm certain that it wouldn't have been before.
Okay. Now, I believe you indicated on direct examination by Mr. Garcia that you never saw Mrs. Olson trying to coax her husband down. Is that what you told Mr. Garcia? You never saw Mrs. Olson?
That's not what I said.
Okay. Did you see Mrs. Olson trying to coax her husband down?
I did. What I didn't see was her standing up trying to get him to sit down or what have you. She reached her hand up and put her hand on his chest as if to say, let it go, just sit down.
Okay. So what you saw was Mrs. Olson's hand on her husband's chest.
That's correct.
And you termed that as coaxing.
That's correct.
And I believe what you're saying is that that was before Mr. Olson was reaching over towards Mr. Reeves.
Yes. It was, I think the better example is it was as that was taking place, and the consequence of that was her finger was shot.
Well, and you would agree, and your statement is that what she was doing was not going to be effective for a big guy like that.
No, if her intent was to force him down, of course not. But I don't think that was, I think it was more of a coaxing, trying to cajole him to sit down.
Now, the shot rang out, and you immediately see Mr. Reeves as he is seated, place the firearm on his knee.
On his right. You're motioning his left,
Yeah. You're saying his right knee?
his right knee.
His right knee. Okay.
Actually, I think in my statement, I said his lap.
Okay. Now, you at some point in time when you're there still in the theater, you're kind of milling around with about 40 to 50, maybe 60 people in that theater, correct?
Yes.
And you saw people in that theater talking to each other.
I can't say that I did. I moved to the far side of the theater and sat down. I couldn't say they were or they weren't. Frankly, I wasn't paying any attention to them. At that point, I was really looking for somebody to bring some forms about so we could get to writing.
Starts at page 122. Starting at lines 21 through 25. Page 123, lines 1 through 8.
Judge, I would object. I don't see this as inclusive.
Is it inconsistent or not with what you just said?
It is. You want me to show it to you?
Sure.
Starts on 122, starting on lines 21 through 25, and then it ends all the way to line 18.
Sustained. It's not. There's not a substantial.
Judge, my argument would be, under the law, it does not have to be a substantial, it just has to be material to the witness's testimony. And just for the record, we are on the deposition that was taken on March the 16th of 2015, and we are on page 122, starting on line 21 through 25, and page 123, lines 1 through 8, as the statement that I was wanting to question the witness about. I'll move on.
Thank you.
Now, the police officers that were there inside the theater, was it ever your statement that the police officers weren't doing anything and you actually had to go and seek out your own forms?
I don't recall. I know that as I mentioned previously, I approached folks to ask if anyone had forms or was going to be given forms.
But my question is, was your position at that point in time that the police officers were just standing around doing nothing?
I don't recall. That doesn't sound familiar to me, but obviously you're reading it, and if you are, then I would say, if I said it, then that's the way it happened.
And if you said it, that's what you meant?
Yes.
You were taken to the concession area, is that correct?
Yes.
and there at the concession area, there was a bunch of people there, and the people were also talking amongst themselves.
Perhaps, I don't recall.
Do you remember making that statement that you went to the concession stand and people were talking amongst themselves there before?
No, I don't.
Mr. Garcia, page
You can
128.
refresh his recollection. This is not impeachment.
I'll be more than glad to do that.
Thank you.
Mr. Turner, I'm going to show you a deposition that was taken of you. You recall me questioning you at
Yes.
that deposition, is that correct?
Yes.
I'm going to direct your attention to the very bottom of page 128 and see if lines 21 through 25 refreshes your recollection.
It was in the 129 as well, though.
Yeah. I was going to get to that one next, Manny, but I want you to read 129, 1 through 3 as well.
Okay.
Does that refresh your recollection now?
Not really, but as I said, if I said it in the deposition, then that's,
That's true.
at the time, that must have been what I believed, yes.
And you read that in the deposition, that people were talking, but the people were talking about what had happened.
That was my assumption. I think that's what the deposition says.
Well, were you assuming when you answered those questions in the deposition, you weren't factually telling me
Objection.
what you
Are you-
remember?
Argumentative in his
Are you
answer.
questioning my integrity?
I think
Hold on,
so.
hold on.
Were you assuming?
Hold on. Let him answer the
Okay.
questions, and let's go in an orderly fashion, and
I'll break it up, Your Honor, so it's easy for everyone.
thank you.
Were you assuming, when I took your deposition and you answered that question, were you assuming that people were talking about what had happened in the theater?
I believe that that's what the deposition indicates.
Okay, that you were assuming that?
My response was, I think so. I didn't say factually.
Were you hearing that?
Was
Were
I
you hearing
what?
people talking about what had taken place there at the movie theater?
I heard people talking amongst themselves, as is indicated there. I couldn't tell you what the substance of their conversation was.
How many people would you say were out there in that concession area when you heard people talking amongst themselves?
Maybe 8 to 10. Most of them had been moved into a larger room.
We're going to get to that larger room in a second because you were moved there as well, right?
That's correct.
How long were you in that concession area before you were moved?
Maybe 5 or 10 minutes. It wasn't long that we were there.
Okay. And then you're moved into another room along with other individuals, correct?
That's correct.
And you remember who some of those individuals were, right? Because they had blood on them.
I know that there were 2 nurses. They were the ones that were covered with blood.
So they were in the room with you.
That's correct.
And Mr. Cummings?
I wouldn't know Mr. Cummings if he were in here as we
Well,
speak.
but if Mr. Cummings had blood, the people that were in that room were there for a purpose.
Yes.
And what was that purpose?
They were in the theater, and they were there to give statements, just as I was.
And so you all had been taken into that room also to give statements.
Yes.
And that group consisted of about 12 individuals, correct?
I couldn't tell you how many. I was sitting in the front, so I really wouldn't know how many people were behind me.
Your wife with you?
She was.
And in that room, there were many or various conversations on what had happened, why it had happened, and that kind of thing in that
I'm going
room.
to object this to a compound question.
If you want me to break it up, I will. It just takes longer, but I'd be more than glad to break it up.
Well, if
I will.
it's appropriate to break it up.
But that was the statement, so I was just following the statement. In that room,
Are you just reading this out of the depot?
oh yeah, I'm asking him this question. In that room, isn't it true, in that room, that there were many conversations, first of all,
I'm going to object to this.
I think it's very appropriate. I'm asking him, just like I would ask him any questions. In that room,
Excuse me. When I'm talking or when there's an objection, please stop.
I will, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Apologize for that.
This isn't impeachment.
It's not
He's reading
impeachment.
from the deposition. I don't understand what Mr. Escobar is attempting to do here.
Your Honor, I can ask a question, whether it's a question that I write down on a pad, or whether it's a question that I'm getting directly from a deposition.
Absolutely,
That's all I'm doing.
Absolutely, but when I ask you to break it up and you respond, well, that's what it says,
No, I didn't say that. I was saying that because I was asking that question as it was written. But I can break it up. I can break it up in
do that.
many
I don't
parts.
care if it's written
Okay.
or posted somewhere or
I will.
anything else.
I will.
Break it up.
I will.
Thank you.
You're in that room with those other individuals. Is it true that there were many conversations in that room?
Yes, I would assume so.
And would you agree also that there were various conversations, meaning of different types?
Yes.
And that those conversations had to do with what had happened, correct?
I can't say that.
Did those conversations have to do with what people saw?
I can't say. I know that I didn't have that type of conversation with anyone.
Well, I'm not talking about you.
I realize that. I'm just saying.
I'm not
that
accusing you of that. Trust me.
I'm uncomfortable saying that there was that type of conversation going on when I just can't tell you that it was.
I understand. But you would agree, the nurse, the person you described as a nurse, was in there?
Yes.
And you were in that room for about 45 minutes.
Appropriately, yes.
May I have a second, Your Honor? We'll pass the witness.
Thank you. Can we agree to that?
I have a moment, counsel.
Yes.
Judge, we don't have any further questions.
Thank you. May this witness be released.
Yes, Your Honor.
You want him to remain under subpoena?
Yes, we have contact numbers for him.
All right. Lieutenant Colonel Turner, you're free to go today. Thank you. You are still under subpoena. There's not a very likely chance that you're going to be recalled, but it is a possibility. If you are recalled, please respond in return as requested. I'm certain you'll get plenty of advance notice in the event that you were recalled. Not likely, though.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you very much.
Is that the last witness for the day?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right.
Judge, we have some statements to read that were stipulated. Can we do that first thing tomorrow morning, just
Okay.
because we need to get to the agreements, the stipulations?
Yeah, we need to get
That
those.
way we can get together and make sure they're all read, and I think we're missing a CV that was supposed to be introduced. It was Mr. Koenig's CV. We got to find that CV. That's the only other thing that I saw that we need to
Okay.
wrap up.
And I believe there's a state's exhibit marked for identification A, Madam Clerk, that you have, that I said that I would introduce.
I give it back.
What was it?
Right, that's why I always make it very clear, if it's coming in, she keeps it, if it's not,
So that would be the only
it's
thing
not
I'd
gonna be
ask you to
marked.
Go ahead and move into evidence in the morning.
what was that? What was it? Of what? I remember that, I have that somewhere too. But I was just looking to see where, do you have anything written down for Mr. Koenig's CV?
It never came.
Okay.
We just have to figure out where it may be. We'll take a look at, we thought that it had come in and that it was.
I never saw it. I didn't see it personally.
Yeah, it may have been through his testimony, but
Well, it certainly is, there's no question that it can be admitted, but I don't have it written down
I'll make sure that.
that it actually got, admitted.
We'll make sure it gets to the court trial.
Okay, that'd be good.
And then state's exhibit A for ID, I bet.
Same thing.
Yeah, I will try to find it.
All right, what witness was that with?
It was the first day.
Right, and I think I had, I remember when that, and I never noticed that it actually came in either.
No, because we already used the letter. B is not coming in.
Right,
All right, so A, B, and C, C is in. B is not coming in, and A is the one
let me see where that came in. Number 4. Okay. Was that when Miss Sumner was?
No, I was up, Judge.
Okay, you were up? All right.
I indicated that we normally don't put evidence in, and the other person's qualification sheet. and
Oh,
I would
okay.
do it.
That's right, because she had the first exhibits, I thought. Oh, well.
But
We'll get 'em in.
It's in one of the boxes, I'm sure.
All right, let's
But
just
we can
make
get
sure
that one.
that anything that is to be admitted is admitted. You'll have the opportunity tomorrow, perhaps, to go through all the evidence to make sure you got everything, and that everybody's on the same page there. We'll get the stipulations read, and go right into closings.
Your Honor, just so I can prepare any time limitations the court's going to place on us in closing. I'm hoping not, but I will try to. I know you're looking at me saying, okay, so I'm going to
No.
try to keep myself brief, but there's a lot of information to cover, and I'd like to be able to have some leeway with that.
So a 30-minute cap would be...
Uh,
No, I'm only kidding. I
can
have
say my name in
never...
30 minutes.
I know that. I have never been a fan of limits. I've never really felt the need. I've never had anyone go longer than a day for an argument, but...
I promise you I will not go a day.
Okay. So I'm not going to put any limits. You know, just do your best and be effective. I'm thinking a day-long closing argument would not be effective. So
Judge, I'm thinking a couple hours,
Couple
maybe 3
hours.
hours at best.
we can manage. I'm not going to put a limit on it. Equal time is my rule. Equal time if desired.
But I don't have to do 3 hours.
You do not have to do 3 hours. I don't care. You're entitled to what, you know, you can have equal
If
time.
want
You don't
equal
have
time,
to.
I'll play a movie or something.
Okay. All right. Are there any matters that we need to address tonight? Any
And I
further?
assume, just so we compare, that Mr. Escobar would do his and I would do mine, and that's it? It's a hearing, it's not a trial, so
Yeah. Well, I don't think we have a sandwich in this case. It is a hearing. It's not a trial. And I typically, in standard hearings, I do not allow rebuttal. So let's plan on that. I'm just going to say I'm not going to, it's just going to be closing.
that's good. That's fine.
However, typically the movement does get the last word.
But it's not a trial. It's a
No,
hearing.
it's not a trial.
It's a hearing.
Judge, I'll show you how reasonable I'm going to be. I'll go first.
Okay, thank you. All right, then we'll get started on that tomorrow. Anything else? 9 o'clock tomorrow. Well done, everybody. Thank you. It's been a long day. We'll be in recess till 9 o'clock tomorrow morning.
All right.